The following program is rated TV MA-LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, violence, and nudity. It is intended only for mature audiences.
You're now tuned into a Planet Fanatix production.
For this week's earlier news of Yann Dimanche exiting the Blade project, I thought that would be the extent of the conversations we would be having about Blade just for a moment. But my source that is close with Marvel has come to me with a bit of insight about what might actually be going on within the Blade project. Now, before we get into any of that, as always, take it all with a massive grain of salt. All of this could be true or none of this could be true, but take all of it with a massive grain of salt. This is my trusted Marvel source that also gave me the BP3 scoop. But before we get into any of that, we're just going to TLDR the last few updates over the last few days, starting with, obviously, the exiting of Yann Dimanche. And that is per Wrap. That's coming from the Wrap that says, filmmaker Yann Dimanche is no longer set to direct the Blade reboot for Marvel Studios. It's reported that the parting was amicable, but no further clarifications were offered as to why Dimanche departed the project. He became the second director to leave the film after first signing on following the previous departure of Bassem Tariq. Tariq left the project in 2022 after signing on in 2021, and Dimanche's hiring was announced in November of 2022. We also know that Eric Pearson is currently penning the script for Blade. Pearson has worked on projects for Marvel Studios like Thor Ragnarok, Black Widow. He's worked on King Kong vs. Godzilla, and most recently the Thunderbolts and the Fantastic Four. It was also reported that the creative team is reportedly putting more effort into getting the characters and story right for Blade instead of rushing and meeting its November 7, 2025 release date. And again, that is coming from the Wrap. Now, if you did not check out the video that we uploaded yesterday talking about these Blade updates with Yann Dimanche exiting the project, you can go check that out because we did talk about the quote that we just read there about them wanting to get it right before trying to just push out a project and things like that. And, you know, I talked about it then, so I'm not really going to go into it here. But for me, I did say, I don't know how long it takes you to get a simple Blade film right. It's been 5 years. I don't know how long. But again, we're going to get into some of the details and updates that may be going on behind the scenes with Blade. Then after the exiting of Yann Dimanche, the very next day on June 13th, we got some more updates that said Mahershala Ali grew frustrated with director Yann Dimanche. And this is coming from Jeff Snyder. The report said that Mahershala Ali grew frustrated with director Yann Dimanche, who's considered a talented director but difficult to work with. Dimanche left Blade in March. Marvel has been looking for a writer and director since then and might end up being one person for both. And that is coming from Jeff Snyder. And that's interesting to me that Jeff Snyder says that Dimanche was difficult for Marvel and for Ali to work with. But if you take yourselves back to the Hollywood Reporter article, they said Blade was preparing to go into production in the fall of 2022 when director Bassem Tariq exited over creative differences. Then sources say Ali handpicked Lovecraft Country Helmer Dimanche to direct both months later. It became one of the major features delayed by the writer's strike in May 2023. So if Mahershala Ali handpicked Dimanche, and that's not to say just because he handpicked him that later on they couldn't have creative differences, or that just because he handpicked him that he wasn't privy to knowing that Dimanche was difficult to work with, if that is true. So not to say that that can't be true, just this is somebody that Mahershala Ali did handpick to have him come on to the project. But then that brings us to today's news. And with today's news, Mahershala Ali's attorney, Shelby Weisner, spoke on Marvel Studios still not starting the filming for Blade. In a new feature piece on entertainment lawyers by The Hollywood Reporter, Ali's attorney, Shelby Weisner, briefly mentioned the Blade movie with her client. While keeping it brief, Weisner opened up about how the situation with Blade's reboot is the craziest thing she's experienced in her career. She said the following: "That deal was in 2019 and they still haven't shot it, which is pretty much the craziest thing in my professional experience." I'm sure that this is not just something she pulled out of the air while speaking with The Hollywood Reporter on whatever the article was, but this is something I'm sure her and Mahershala Ali have spoken about. This is something I'm sure within the 5-year span of trying to get this project off the ground, I'm sure he and his attorneys and everybody else have had conversations because, you know, earlier reports were saying that he was frustrated. You had the report that the, original script was 90 pages with 2 lackluster scenes. There there were even rumored reports that people were saying, oh, he's ready to walk then. So I'm sure he was frustrated. I'm sure he had conversations with his attorney, and I'm sure within those conversations, that is what is spawning her saying, this is one of the craziest experiences in my professional career. So that is what she came out today and said. But there are also reports that are still saying that Ali is still happy. There were reports saying that he's still attached to the film. And if you take yourselves back to the Entertainment Weekly, and I've talked about this quote before, you take yourselves back to the Entertainment Weekly quote from December of 2023, I've been saying it then, and I'm continuing to say it. I do not believe that Mahershala Ali is happy. I don't believe he's happy at all. The reason I don't believe he's happy is because the quote that everybody is saying that he gave good vibes from, I felt no good vibes from at all. And that quote was, we're working on it. That's the best I can tell you. I'm really encouraged with the direction of the project. I think we'll be back at it relatively soon. I'm sincerely encouraged in terms of where things are at and who's on board and who's leading the way as far as the writing and the script and the directing and all of that. So that's the extent of what I can tell you. And again, the example I used the last time when I talked about this quote was when you go look at, you can go look at Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio talking about Daredevil Born Again. When they're talking about it, they're talking about how they've texted each other. When they see something in the script, they'll talk about it. They laugh about it. They take the role so seriously. They'll spend hours on the phone.
Speak to me about working together on set and shooting. If there's anything you can say of the favorite memories or
How many scenes did we get? I can't say, actually.
Not many.
No.
I mean, I think even over all the 5 things we've done, probably a handful of scenes.
Yeah, totally.
But we see each other a lot, and we're very much involved together in the creative process as well. So we talk a lot.
We're on the phone all the time.
Yeah. And we agree on almost everything. I always I'll read it first, the scripts first, and I'll text Vincent, and he'll be like, what do you think? And I'll be like, I'm not saying till you've read it, and then we'll talk about it, and we almost always agree.
Yeah.
That's them talking about the upcoming project and things like that. When Mahershala Ali is discussing a project that he went to Marvel Studios for, saying that he wanted to play this character, the best he can tell you is we're working on it. And again, people kept saying, oh yeah, he's in good spirits, he's happy. 2 different quotes then. Just from what we're reading, I'm not feeling that. Now, that is a little TLDR of the last few days of Blade updates. Now, I'm going to get into what the source close to Marvel has told me about what could be going on behind the scenes with the Blade project. Now, again, before I get into any of this, take all of this with a massive grain of salt. As I said before, it could all be true, or none of it could be true. The first thing that we're going to get into that I was told, and don't shoot the messenger, is that Mahershala Ali is actually the one that is making this such a difficult project to get off of the ground. This is a question I asked last night in the live stream that we did. I asked this question. I said, if this is someone that Mahershala Ali handpicked, and then you've gone through 6 writers, you've gone through 2 directors, we've not heard anything from Marvel Studios themselves about the project. We've just heard things from the scoopers and things like the quote from Mahershala Ali back in December of 2023. Nothing really sounded positive there, as I mentioned. So I started to think, could Mahershala Ali be the issue? Could it be an issue to where it's him behind the scenes, where maybe he's making this difficult? Is he the one?
The rumor or the report is that Damaj was removed back in March, or left back in March, amicably left back in March. But also the report was that Mahershala was not happy with Damaj.
Damn.
But my question for that is, and I really didn't want to jump into this question this early into it, but with all these things going on, all these reports, Mahershala did choose Damaj. He was the one that said, that's who I want. I want him. Could it be Mahershala?
I think he's the problem at this point. I'm sorry to just jump in like that, like a girl, but damn, come on. This is our 6th director, and every time it's because you and this director cannot find something you guys cannot find a common ground. And I get it, this is your project, this is your character, you've been with this character, you've developed this character, this is it. But if you want this movie to get out, if you want this check, we got to come up with something. We got to leave here with something, in the words of Denzel.
I can't put this on him. I can put this on because the other rumors were there was only 2 fight scenes in a movie. The other rumors were
yes, with that original, yeah.
Mahershala wasn't supposed to be the lead of the film. There's other rumors, so I always look at it as Mahershala just knows what's best, and he's not allowing crap to come out.
And I completely agree with that. I agree with that. Like in the earlier reports, and I still agree with that. I'm not saying it's Mahershala. I'm just posing a question because now it's I guess I didn't think about this when I made the video because I would have asked this in the video I made earlier, but I didn't think about it. But when you chose this director, this was the director that you said I want him because of what he did with Lovecraft Country and everything like that, and he's blah blah blah. And then you have issues with this director. Not to say that maybe I'm not, and again, that's not saying that he had issues with Tariq or himself. He had issues with the script, or but I'm just wondering. I'm wondering. There's a lot, and I guess this has me wondering because this has been such a long, drawn out process for Marvel Studios, and we've had no answers. So now I'm just trying to create maybe answers. I don't know. I don't think it's Mahershala because he did he set the meeting up with them. He wanted Blade, and I don't know.
I got two scenarios on what this means here. One of them is that Kevin Feige has completely just allowed this to run amok while he's trying to, curtail the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe at the moment. Got a lot of fires to put out, and this is just not a priority. And while Mahershala may have wanted Jan originally for his work on Lovecraft and other things he's seen him do, let's not pretend that Jan has free reign. Let's not pretend that every treatment he's set up has gotten the green light from Disney and they've just ran with it, and Mahershala doesn't like it, and whatever he started with is what Mahershala is seeing. All right. By the time he has a finished script from whoever his Disney, box checker is, it is not what he came in the door with. And we know that from several stories of not just MCU, but Disney umbrella, Disney at large. We know how they operate with these projects. The other option is what my man Raymond 2000 said, is that maybe that Jordan Peele news that, he came in for a meeting with Marvel, maybe it didn't work out, yada, yada, yada. And then a week later, we see my boy Jan Dimash. Oh, in between there, though, was the news that Blade is getting delayed. So first, Jordan Peele gets a meeting with Marvel over some projects. Don't know what it is. Maybe it didn't work out according to
reports, but I don't know if I believe that.
Yeah, whoever, right? In the middle of that, Blade's getting delayed to 2026. Why? We just got a new director. Oh, the new director's out. It could be that maybe it wasn't a personal thing. Maybe it wasn't even really a script thing. Maybe they found a level up. Maybe Kevin woke up and said, holy shit, I'm going to let a flagship character become nothing like he was before 1999 and Wesley Snipes played him. And I should probably fix that before we lose another alpha male character. Maybe. Maybe.
I think his skin's too dark for that thought.
You're right. You are right. There's that black thing. There is that black
making
thing.
this difficult. Is he the one not? Again, the original reports of the 90-page script with 2 lackluster scenes. Of course, that's understandable. Be mad as fuck about that. I'm a 2-time Academy Award winning, actor. Give me my respect, of course. Damn, and not just him. Give Blade his respect as well. None of us want to go sit down and watch a Blade film that is a 90-page script with 2 lackluster fights. So, of course, seeing that, I'm sure he was very upset. But outside of that, that is what we're being told, is that the problem here isn't so much of Marvel as everybody is, a lot of us are thinking that it is. The problem seems to be more pointing toward Mahershala Ali. And again, take this with a massive grain of salt, but this is what I'm being told. I'm being told that the problem is Mahershala Ali behind the scenes. A lot of people have been pointing fingers at Marvel Studios saying, how hard is it to get a Blade film off of the ground? How hard is it to just, put a sword in Mahershala Ali's hands and have him go killing vampires? This is a blueprint. It writes itself. This can't be hard. Why are we not putting the same love and care into these black characters the way that we do into some of these white characters? And X, Y, and Z, the conversations have gone on and on and on. But one of the videos that I played in the video that we uploaded yesterday on the Blade updates was Kevin Feige talking about how Blade has been something that has been on Marvel Studios' minds for a long time. And they've been trying to figure out, how can we get this character in? What's going to be the best way of creatively getting this character into the MCU? And he went on to mention We've got Doctor Strange and the supernatural side of things. Now is the best time to get him in.
We have, for years, wanted to find a new way into Blade. We love that character. We love that world. Now with Doctor Strange and the supernatural elements coming into the MCU, it felt like we could definitely start exploring that. Mahershala wanted to come in and meet with us. And when Mahershala Ali wants to meet, you take the meeting. And I think he had just come off of his second Academy Award. And we were talking, he was very polite, and he was talking about what a fan he is, and then he just cut right to it and was like, Blade. And we were like, yes.
So if this is something that has been on Marvel Studios' minds for quite some time, and they're wanting to get it right, maybe what they want to get right is not lining up with what Mahershala Ali is wanting to put on the screen. Which leads me into the next thing that I was told. Mahershala Ali is wanting to, again, what I'm being told, massive grain of salt, is wanting, also could be the same reason why we had the reports from Daniel RPK that they were looking for a male actor to be the villain of the film. A lot of people speculating that that was going to be Dracula, whatever. But it does make it more comic accurate and sticks to what Marvel wants to do, and that is make a comic accurate Blade film. And the next thing that I was told was that Ali didn't even want Jamal Afri to be a part of the script. He wanted Blade to be a complete loner. Now, for those of you that know anything about Blade or anything about, this character's background, Jamal is a very, very, very important character to Blade. He's a very important character to Blade. Offrey plays a very pivotal father role in Blade's life. He taught him how to control his powers. He taught him how to hunt. He taught him how to kill vampires. He taught Blade everything he knew. He trained Blade in a lot of ways that Whistler did not. Whistler was a great vampire hunter. He was just nowhere on the level that Jamal was on. So as a mentor to Blade, I don't understand why you would not want this character in the film. Especially because, again, going off of what Kevin Feige said, when they had the initial meeting with Ali, he said that Ali was a major fan of Marvel and everything that they've done thus far within the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Mahershala Ali, why is he the perfect Blade?
He's the perfect Blade because he's one of the greatest actors working today, and because he's a huge fan of our universe and a fan of that character. And he's going to destroy the part. I mean, it's a dream. It's the kind of dream casting that you almost don't dare to dream that you could actually do it. But we had a couple of meetings with him and sort of very quickly decided, let's do this.
So what do you say to Wesley Snipes when he asks why?
Wesley's amazing. There'd be no Blade without Wesley.
Universe.
Yeah.
So if that is true, and Ali is a fan, and I don't know this to be true or not, if he's a comic book fan or not, if he really is delving deep into the Blade comics, because no one has really interviewed him about this role, then why again would you not want a character like Jamal to be a part of this film? And if he's one very pivotal, again, like a father figure to Blade. And the last thing that I was told about this is that all Marvel has done was keep changing the scripts for his likeness, but he rejects everything, and the directors have found him difficult to work with. Unfortunately, it's not Marvel this time. He's simply being a diva. That's what I have been told here about the situation going on with Blade. Again, massive grain of salt. I don't know if if any of it is true, but if it is true, it would make sense as to where we're currently sitting with Blade. We've been through 6 writers. We've been through 2 directors. It's been 5 years, and everything that we are hearing has just been negative about Blade. Outside of it getting the rated R rating, outside of Mahershala Ali being announced as Blade, there hasn't been anything positive about it, and everything that we're hearing has been negative. Could it be? I'm just posing the question again. Don't shoot the messenger. Massive grain of salt. Could it be that Mahershala Ali is the problem? And if he is the problem, what do you do next as Marvel? Do you try to save face and just keep pushing things off until maybe eventually he just walks away? Or do you part ways with him next? What do you do in this situation? It's already embarrassing enough for Marvel, in my opinion. You're a company that, I've seen it everywhere. Everybody's been talking about it. This is why you don't announce a project or cast a actor in a project before having a script ready, before having, all your ducks in a row. This is already an embarrassing situation for Marvel. They've never been in a situation like this where you've got a huge actor like Mahershala Ali, a 2-time Academy Award winning actor like himself that has come in that you've already announced, and it's been 5 years, and every headline for Blade is negative. So if you are in this situation, what do you do? So could it be the situation that he really is the problem? But again, I'm just the messenger. The question is for you. Let me know down below in the comments what you guys are thinking. Do you believe these reports? Do you believe that he's the issue? Do you believe that, no, this is probably just more of Marvel's bullshit, more of Marvel just not wanting to treat their black characters correctly, or whatever the situation may be? Let me know down below in the comments. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. I'll see all you guys in the next video.
My excitement for any role is pretty equal, honestly, because I feel the responsibility is always the same. But I've never walked into a role where the anticipation of it was so great, where people were already so familiar with the character and have real opinions and points of view and all that. And so it feels different. There's clearly an added layer of pressure, which I will embrace. Wow.